Hey guys, I'm Dustin with Real Avid, and this year I've been really getting into shooting long range. The best way to train for long range is to get into some 22 long range shooting. So we're shooting targets, about a 1-inch target, anywhere from 100 to 200 yards. The biggest thing we're starting to see out there, people are having issues hitting those targets because their rifle and their optic are not level to each other. So at Real Avid, we created a tool called the Level Right Pro. And I'm going to take you back to Real Avid. I'm going to show you how to use that tool to make sure this optic is level to this rifle. So when I get out at the range, I can go hopefully 10 for 10 per stage. All right guys, here we are at the shop. We've got my Ruger RPR ready to go. And we're going to throw my Vortex Strike Eagle 5-25 on here. I do have the level right set up, but one thing I wanted to show you is on the RPR, it comes with a handguard. Just like if you have a chassis gun on a bigger rifle, if you're working on a AR-15, you will need a Picatinny type mount on the top. So I took my Picatinny that I actually run my bipod on. I took my bipod off, took that off, moved it up here to the top, and I have my Picatinny mount on my level right here. So we're gonna go ahead and get my caps on. One thing I do with all of my caps is I do mount, or I go in and when I open them up from the package, I use a silver marker, just a little Sharpie like this guy. And I put little marks on the inside. So one of them will have a triangle and it's gonna be on the top and bottom. The other one will have a square. That way when I take them off, I can put them wherever I need or wherever they end up falling. And then I can look at the bases and tell exactly which one goes back to where. So we're gonna get these on. What I like to do is just kind of get them snugged up, but I still keep an eye on my gap from right and left to make sure my gap stays pretty center. Some people will kind of go in and do a crisscross when they're first getting them snug on. I do that just because out of habit. You don't have to do that. But when you actually go to tighten them down, to torque them down, that is recommended if you have base caps that have 4 screws on each one. So we're just going to get this snug and then we'll get the level right on. Now one thing I like to do is I'll put my fingers right at the edge of the gap, so as soon as a little bit of tension comes down, I'll feel it kind of pinch my fingers, and that lets me know that it's snug enough, but I can still move this from side to side so I can go through and start my leveling process. So we already have the Picatinny mount on our level rights. We can go ahead and push that on. So when we're putting this on, we want to make sure that we have contact points at the top and that the front of the bell on both sides are touching. So once we have that, then we're going to just snug this down and we're good to go. So now we know everything up front is good. I have one single plane. So I'm going to make sure my bubble level on my grid is centered. And I'm going to get my bubble level on my rifle here centered. All right. So right now I have one single plane on my rifle from the handguard up into the level right, and my bubble level's good there. I have my projector, which is a flashlight. I'm going to turn that on, and I've got a nice beam coming in on my grid here. Now there's a couple things you could do there. So some optics will have a bigger bell on there, and you will not, when you first look onto your grid, you won't be able to see everything. So I always take my eye relief, I bring it all the way out. And if you're running an optic that has parallax, I like to bring the parallax all the way down. So the Vortex Strike Eagle actually has a parallax of 15, so I'm going to take my parallax all the way down to 15, and then I'm going to start to zoom in. All right, so as you can tell, we've got my vertical line where it looks like it's pretty solid, but as I'm looking at my mills for my windage, I can see my six on each side, they're a little off. So we're going to just move this a little bit more. And now you can see the crosshairs of the grid are going evenly through the 6, and then they're hitting the gap between the mill lines and that bottom grid are good. And then I come up here and look, I've got about the same gap at the top, and as it runs down, it's running pretty flush all the way down. All right, so this guy looks good here. We're gonna grab our torque wrench. I always start out about 10, and then I'm gonna work my way up in torque. And then I have a very particular way of doing it. I'm going to start at the muzzle end. I'm going to work my way back to the stock, going in a crisscross pattern here. The reason I do that is it helps me keep track of where I'm at on each screw. Now we're going to go up to 15, start back same spot I started last time. Now, one of the benefits of having the level right and actually having the light and everything on as I'm torquing my caps down is if my optic is spinning right or left as I'm tightening them down, I'm going to see it on my grid. Because I kept the caps a little snug, it's not turning on me, so we can continue through this. I know what my manufacturer torque specs are on this optic. If you're not sure what yours are, you can go online, whoever it is, you know, Vortex is usually around 20. SIG, I've seen them be up to about 65 on some of their optics as far as inch pounds. So just check with your manufacturer specs. Make sure you meet those and you won't cause any damage to your optic. All right, guys, so we got my optic completely mounted here. We can actually go ahead and take the Level Right Pro off, where I'm gonna get my Picatinny back down mounted on the bottom, get my bipod on it, get out to the range. I'm gonna get this guy zeroed. If you guys have any questions, please leave a comment below, and I hope to see you guys at the range.